Hot Sweaty Results Club and the Jennifer Loveless Facebook page, as well as Wings of Hope. Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic today. And like I said, I have one of the most amazing things this week. You know, this was Women's Day this past week, correct? And how amazing that was to showcase women all across the country in every facet of different job positions, and, you know, from people that are in the government to people that are cleaning houses to people that are big business leaders and entrepreneurs. And I wanted to do that same thing with the ladies that I'm in this leadership group, because they are so fantastic. They're entrepreneurs themselves, and they are just so amazing in every different facet. That's what's so wonderful about what we're doing. We're going to be doing a women's empowerment weekend. So today we are kicking it off with one of my dear friends, Miss Ali Albons. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but it is
French. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Alboness.
Yeah.
Alboness. Okay. Just amazing. And of course, I took French. I lived in Michigan. So, you know, we were probably closer to Quebec than what I am now in Alabama, right? But you are like way abroad. She actually lives in France, and but she's from the UK. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, I'm from the north of England. Yeah.
Yes. So she's got a wealth of knowledge, and so I'm going to kind of go through her bio here and what she told me a little bit about herself. Is that she's got a lot of different social media links. So we're going to be putting that too right now, guys. It's going to be in the chat, so you will see that. We definitely want you to get connected with her. That's the reason why I brought her up here. She's just absolutely amazing. She is the founder, and I should say owner, of Authentic Power Life Coaching. And she has an amazing, amazing Facebook group too, that she really wants to truly empower women, just help them through traumatic experiences. But more importantly than that, it's just not just that. It's all about health. It's about meditation. It's about really bringing people into that mindset of just really fighting through things that maybe you've been going through in the past. And so I want Ali to talk about her program. I'm excited about this, but I want to thank you, Ali. Thank you so much for being here. And my first question for you is that, you know, when people go through the pain, because we talked about this before, I had the opportunity, you're so amazing, to allow me to bless your group too, to be on there and speak about some things that happened to me. What was your pain point, and kind of like your hero story that caused you now to do this work?
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for having me on here. Like, it's such a privilege. Like, really, this is just awesome. So thank you, Jennifer. So my pain point. So my story is kind of long, really, but I'll keep it short. So I essentially have been through 30 something years of trauma, like healing from a childhood trauma. And it wasn't really until I honestly, about 3 years ago, I had a bit of a breakdown, because I realized I was a yes person. I'd had so many opportunities to change my life, to do it differently, so many taps on the shoulders over the years, and never really lived life for myself. I was a people pleaser. I didn't have any healthy boundaries, and went through a lot of addictions and things like that. So it all came down to never really truly healing from this childhood trauma. And what I've learned since I had my breakdown 3 years ago is that I had to get everything like far away from me, because I really had really came up against it, and I had to stop. Like, really, everything told me I have to stop and go inside, which is exactly what I did. And it took me about 10 months to rebuild myself, and it became very, very clear, like, I never truly healed from this childhood trauma. And what basically happened was that I was abused as a child between 5 and 10 sexually. And I blocked it out of my mind, as trauma victims tend to do, for literally for many years. So when I was 18, a very good friend of mine just said to me one day, and it was a new relationship, and he said to me, Ali, you are so sad. Like, what is going on? And it was like this black screen literally was lifted from my eyes. And I then went on this on with my life, but never really dealing with what the hell had happened to me, and not really understanding that that's insane, that we can block out memories and years of our life to survive. And looking back, I have realized all the pieces and the transitions that I went through, and they were basically, I was bouncing around for years and years and years, and I was married, divorced, got married again, very happily married now. We have 2 children, but my life kind of transitioned, and I was always, I had my job, and then I became a wife, then I became a mum, and I just went from place to place, but never really dealt with the person that was inside. Mm-hmm. So 3 years ago, it like, boom, that was it. I had to find myself. Like, I'd actually been finding myself all throughout I knew I was always looking, like searching for happiness. And I realized, so 3 years ago, I had this breakdown, and I got the perfect opportunity to rebuild myself from the bottom up, looked at what was truly going on, and by mistake really got into meditation. It just felt, I'd never really done it. It just felt innate. It felt like I needed to go within, and I did a lot of journaling and kind of got through it on my own, really. But looking back, gosh, like 30 something years, I'm 50 this year. Like, it's like, that's a long time to not really consider the person inside. And I was always bouncing from a life role, the wife, the mother, and I was a hair and makeup artist in the film business. I was very good at helping people. I was almost a bit of a therapist back then, even though I hadn't really realized what was going on. I was just good. People trust me. And, looking back, it all makes sense now. That was, this work I found purely by sitting there doing the meditation. I'd never even considered coaching. In Europe, coaching is not, or it wasn't 3 years ago, a very big role. Like, it wasn't, really wasn't a career as such. It might have been like within businesses, like, or, fitness coaching, etc. But not really, life coaching. So this came to me that I thought, wow, okay, so I have something to share here. I can relate to people that have been through this, through a trauma of some kind, and through the work and the trainings I've done over the past couple of years 3 years since, I now have a very clear picture of what it takes, like what it is in terms of rebuilding from the bottom up. And, really, I have my membership. We go through that in a lot of detail, and it's multi-layered. But really, I would say the work that I do it's all holistic health related, but it is quite deep in terms of the healing, which is absolutely necessary, because when, we all go through something in life, and when a person has gone through something pretty significant and they bury it, it's never going to go away until we face it. It's just never going to go away. And all the things and the way that we go through life, if we're living constantly in avoiding that, or not really even realizing what's going on underneath, it can be, we're just layering on the problems, essentially. So it's really, really important that we're honest with ourselves and go within. It's like, that's where all the answers are, truly. Yeah.
I mean, I can totally see that, because I look back at some things that has happened to me, but not only that, like my mom, for example, I look back at some of her experiences and how they made a difference in her life. And I look at some, we look inward, and that's the whole thing. It's like just like me, just like you, not nowhere to probably like, maybe what happened to you, but it's, it's kind of like, I remember reading a book by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's either the 4 agreements or I can't remember which one it was, but it was basically just stating that we're all in this life together, that when we're born, we're like born with this beautiful skin, right? Beautiful, soft skin. It's so precious. And then as we get older, if something happens to us that might scar us or wound us, we end up with a cut, but we don't see it. It still looks like baby soft skin. And then we get older, we have more and the more wounds that are actually like so big and gaping that the people can't see it. We know it's there, but it's that you had to heal that gaping wound within inside you. And it's just, I love that book. It's so profound. It was a simple read, but I was like, whoa, it was beautiful, you know, in that same instance. Have you kind of nodded your heads. Have you read that, any of his books?
Yeah, I've read them all. I love them. Yeah. And the way that it's so beautiful that, and the way that, you know, the way that I basically present it to people and give a different perspective, a different way of looking at things. So I believe that, and honestly, this helped me hugely with healing. And most importantly, really, what is phenomenal is that I have been able to forgive 100%, and not only forgive my grandfather, but forgive myself for being in that place at that time, and for the little girl that I became, and all the past years of, you know, addiction and crazy, excuse my language, shit that I got up to out of needing to be seen and noticed, and going down some very long dark paths that were wrong direction to get attention, to feel I wasn't worthy enough, to get approval, and thinking that's what men want, you know, all of that, just like really, really horrible stuff, that shame. And I don't have that anymore. And the truth is that this is not something, you know, with our logical brain, this human brain that we have, we can never, you know, the thought of forgiveness is like, what, like that's just like never going to happen. How can, you know, there's this tendency to always feel the victim, or we, you know, we're deserving of something because we were badly done to. Yeah. And I see the addictions, like it's that kind of mindset. And what I know is that to forgive someone, to truly forgive ourselves and get out of that shame, which is, it's a really low vibration. It doesn't get any lower. It's really bad for our health. We have to see life, this experience of life, from a much, much higher perspective, totally different perspective. And I see that through soul contracts. So what is really empowering about the sacred contract, our soul contracts, is this concept, and I truly believe it, that we, before we come into this life, you know, I believe we have our previous lifetimes, and we learn along the way. You know, we come into this life, people that are born into this life with a gift, I mean, they're an amazing pianist, or that just doesn't happen through, you know, luck or chance or being taught from being little. It's innate in them. It's something that they've brought with them. It's a talent. And we all have our talents. This is another subject which we'll probably go into later. But what I believe is we have, before we come into this life, we have our contract, if you like, and we come here to learn something. Life is a transition. You know, we're all here on this journey for a certain amount of years, and we've come here with an intention to really work through something and accomplish something. And I believe one of mine was, without a doubt, to learn this piece of forgiveness and healing. And that's my way of really giving back and supporting people now going forward. And this contract, I had a contract with my grandfather. I have a contract with you. The reason why we're all here is because it was all kind of set up. Nothing happens for no reason. When we become like really aware and present, we're very aware and conscious of things, people coming into our life, and we realize that actually that didn't happen by chance. You know, when you look back at all the events, when I look back at all the events of my life and who I've become, I could stay looking at that as like, oh, you poor me, but actually it's made me the person that I am today. And I'm so grateful for all of those experiences, because this is what I came here to do. And now it's my role to support other people with doing the same. You know, it's really, when we see it from that perspective, it's so profoundly empowering. And it's not, you know, we have the laws of the universe and this human brain. This is not something that you can comprehend at this level of gravity on this human earth. This is a mystical, really, it's a mystical truth to forgive. It's not something that you can logically do, but what is extraordinary when we really let go of resistance, which we have here with all our problems in life. It's like on earth, you know, it's like resistance all the time. The moment we let go, it's like it's like it's so freeing. It's like everything just starts to, it opens us up to allow new things to come in, because we're not holding on to that problem and giving our energy away and holding on to that density of the issue anymore. So it's incredibly freeing. And, you know, over processing, analyzing and talking, and it just like keeps us weighted down. It's like, it's not about that. It's about just letting go and going within and just seeing it, understanding from a higher perspective. It's, you know, in a nutshell, it sounds like I'm making it easy, but it's not. But it's a journey. But it's just really profound. And I feel the soul contract, the sacred contract essence, and the richness of that, absolute richness of that with the work that I do, is it joins all the dots and just puts everything into perspective, so that we're not living in the past and in that dense negativity. We're present, 100% present. And from that place, we can just, everything just comes to us. Everything, you know, our every day is a new day, and we just reset and we start from that day going forward, from that moment going forward. It's really empowering to not hold on to all that, you know?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, that's kind of what I obtained from that book, from one of his books, was that is forgiveness isn't for, you know, for them, it's really for you, so that you're able to move on. And what I find so amazing too is that, you know, you working with your past trauma, and that you were helping other people deal with their past trauma. You know, what are the reasons why people don't heal from their past traumas? Give us that kind of scenario behind that.
So it is because I believe one of the reasons, so one of the areas that we look at with this work here are the archetypes. So what's so interesting, you know, Carl Jung came up with this years ago, but this is our life every day. We are all living out these archetypes, whether we realize it or not. So, you know, like when you might see someone in the street, or every day, constantly, we see people, we meet people, and we automatically put a category on them, like, oh, he's just an absolute hero, like, oh God, he's so good, that guy, or oh, she just looks like an angel. You know, we call them hero, angel. We do it automatically, like without thinking about it. And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of archetypes, but we have within us like certain roles that govern our ways of being. It's nothing to do with personality. They're just ingrained in us. And like I said about, we come into this life with talents and things that are just, you know, whether it's the musician or whatever it is. Yeah. And we have these. And the way that I work with people is we have 4 that we all share. And these are survival archetypes. They're the 4. And we have these really from the moment of birth and becoming an adult. We learn these to adapt to these ways of surviving, which is, you know, it can be through, you know, relating with our friends, with our parents. We've developed ways of hiding who we are over time. It's inevitable. And kids are quite clever, because they ultimately, you know, they never want to be left alone or abandoned. So we do whatever it takes to survive. So we learn to manipulate situations like all children do. It's totally normal. And so we have these 4 archetypes within us that are survival archetypes. And we go through life. We always have these, all of them, these 4. And they are the saboteur, which is to do with self-sabotage, the victim, which is self-explanatory, a child archetype, which we all have in us. So that can be, it can be the wounded child. They sound negative. That said, it could be the nature child. We go into this in more depth, but essentially we have a child archetype. And then the 4th one is the prostitute, which sounds dramatic, selling ourselves for money, but actually from a spiritual growth perspective, it's not just about selling ourselves for money. It's about, for example, taking a job because we need the money rather than following a calling to have a career or to support people, to whatever it is, our career, for the passion and for the calling. We're doing things just for money. So we're selling ourselves short. Or, for example, women in a relationship may stay home, look after the kids, look after the husband, and never really go and fulfill their dream, their passion, because they need to be looked after, because they fear not being able to pay for themselves and look after themselves. So the prostitute one is more to do with that, like learning to not, yes, we need to learn to look after ourselves and pay, become a fully functioning adult. However, we must never give up our dreams and our aspirations and our calling. So that's the prostitute. The victim is what it is. It's kind of self-explanatory. We all have opportunities. So the brilliant thing about these 4 archetypes, so this is a long way to answer your question, is that the saboteur, the self-sabotage, all these 4 are in all of us. And they come up for us every day. We have opportunities to choose to be a victim or not. We have the saboteur, we have choices every day to make. That we're going to do something that's going to empower us, or we're going to do something that's going to disempower us, or we're going to have healthy boundaries and say no today, or we're not. So we're always being challenged by these 4. And one of the biggest areas where people struggle with moving forward from if they need some kind of healing from a trauma, or whether it's divorce, when they're transitioning through from one archetype to another, it comes up whereby there's fear. It's absolute fear, and it's difficult to trust that there is, because they're going into an unknown territory, so it's hard to know what's on the other side. And one of the biggest fears is that they're going into the unknown, but they may lose some people along the way. So people are not always going to be accepting of us transitioning, whether it's, for example, someone in her relationship whereby there's some violence, some domestic violence, and there's several fears. So there you've got the prostitute. There's fears probably they're not going to be able to look after themselves. The saboteur, because they don't feel strong enough, and they're just going to they're always never going to go outside their comfort zone, because it actually is safer to stay at home and go through that pain than it is to risk it. Because what does risk it looking like? It looks like it's totally unknown. It's terrifying. So they're not going to go there. So it's the fear of the unknown. And this is why the work that I do with people, with understanding that this is what we came here to do. It sounds crazy, but this is our opportunity. That example of someone, for example, who's, has domestic violence situation. This is what they came here to do. And when we look at the whole point really is that we have choice. There's always a choice in every situation. We may feel that there isn't, but there is. And whilst ever we keep making the same choice, we're never going to know what's going to happen on the other side. And you know, I think things get so bad sometimes that, like for me, when I had my breakdown 3 years ago, I was so exhausted and overworked and was busy doing things for everybody else, and including my husband, saying, but you're so good at this, you can't stop now, everybody wants you. But I totally cut off my intuition. I wasn't doing anything for me. I was a mess. So I literally had to stop. And it got to a point that the worst case scenario, what was the worst case scenario? I actually become ill, because I'm absolutely 100% going to get ill, and that will stop me. Then I'll stop. So unfortunately, people do get to that point as well, that then they develop an illness, and it's then that they stop. So it's so, so important that we really stop and look inside and just start listening to what our body and our intuition is telling us, and trusting that. And trusting that, because that is the only place that's the only thing we can trust, really. It's not about what anybody else tells us we should be doing. This game of life, it all goes on in here. We're all in it together. It's like a game, literally. And it's a wonderful game, an absolutely amazing game. And yet the only way we can really, really be a player and really make a difference is it starts with each and every one of us. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that I love what you said, and I'm gonna have to say, just like me, but I'm raising my hand here. And I had that opportunity to see that because of all the things that were going on, with my dad, with his health. I was seeing the struggle between my mom and my dad, and trying to take care of him, and his dementia coming on, and the cancer. He smoked like a freight train. He, major heart disease, and ended up taking out his bladder and prostate, and had an ostomy bag for his urostomy. And then I saw him at the dementia and how that slowly progressed. And that pain, it brought me pain to see my dad going through it, even though, because I didn't realize my dad was depressed until we took him to the doctor before that major surgery. And they were trying to meet with people like through this process and say, hey, we're going to follow you for the next 5 years. We want to see how you do through this process. And they asked him if he had depression. Then he said yes. And it was just, and here I am being kind of a practitioner and kind of trained in that area. And I'm like sitting there, oh my gosh, like Daddy was isolating himself in his garage for hours on end, looking at videos, and that was his isolation phase. And I'm like, how did I miss that? It's just, I thought Daddy was tinkering, So, and then watching my mom being that caregiver, the pain that she was seeing, her spouse, and then now with him, they're separated, and her being by herself. And, I was trying to help them and stay with them. And that took me away from my family. It was just, so I can totally see how this trauma that what my mom's been through, and kind of almost really what my dad was going through at that time, that was a trauma that caused this depression. So, the work that you're doing, Allie, is so beautiful. It's so needed in today's society. And that impact that was on me, I had cancer last year. So that was that I was internalizing that. I was trying to, I hate to say this, but I was in that, the prostitute form. I was selling my time for money because I was just trying to work to get the money back. And so, but I appreciate that. Like, wow, that's just brought so many things to my light. And this is what I want to ask you too. Do you believe that people can overcome like the mental illness or the depression or the trauma without drugs?
It's a great question. So this is why I love this holistic health concept of work, like you. Yeah, because honestly, I am not a big believer in drugs, because, there is this, I believe, this concept that we are whole and healthy human. We just are. And the only reason why, we have like blocks in our body and it's like when things are not dealt with, when we put weight on things energetically, stress, not to mention, you know, like you said, I mean, I smoked for years, you know, alcohol, all of these things. It's not to say that we should never do any of it, but with the frame of mind and the lack of self-worth that I felt, pile all of that on top of each other over a period of years, it's going to get you, you know, it's going to get you. And I believe that that is a lot how, you know, skin conditions like there's tons of things that happen through being out of alignment. And just now you and I both know this, you know, with the work with Joe Dispenza, I do profoundly believe that there is healing without medication. It's not to say, I would never say that we don't need it. And obviously, when there's operations and things are needed in emergencies, absolutely. But if we could just have a whole reset across the world with like a holistic health, if we could just look after ourselves, like truly look after ourselves, then we probably wouldn't have half the diseases and all the issues, mental health, all the rest of it that we have today. I mean, truly. And, you know, that's kind of a dream, but, you know, it starts today. It starts with the work that you and I are doing and supporting people with becoming healthy. It is absolutely possible. And, you know, it's up to each and every one of us to start making those steps towards that. And I feel there is so much opportunity now and out there. But we have to change this mindset of the way that, you know, that we have about, let's just, you know, take another pill or whatever. I don't always think it's the answer. No, I think there's a much more holistic way of healing. And honestly, when we see things from that higher perspective, literally people are being, I mean, Joe Dispenza's work, healed like that. Now, what's that? That again, this is a mystical, this is not something that we can deal with. It's not, you can't reason that, you know, you just can't put any reason on that. It's a totally phenomenal, it's a miracle. And it happens. It's happening every day. So it is happening. So I think that's where it's at. You know, that's what I feel. And yeah, depression. So with the work with the archetypes and this, and with the specifically also the survival archetypes, when we know more about that, we realize that we have choice every day and opportunities that come up. You know, it's like we just see things as they are. We're not we don't take things so personally anymore. We just see the interaction and the game and the opportunity, like, I have a choice here. Like either I go into my wounded child archetype and have a mental breakdown because this man seems very threatening. He's not, and he's got no idea what's going on with me. But I can easily go into my child archetype and become the victim. And so now I'm aware I have choice, and it's empowering. And if we have awareness and choice in our ways of being, moment by moment by moment, we're not carrying disempowerment in our body, in our energy. And that's our natural state of well-being. We are meant to be whole and complete, and naturally a high vibration, a well, fully rounded, holistic being. And the only reason we're not is because we weight ourselves down with all this stuff that we give energy to, and we ignore it and we don't deal with it, and then the problem goes on for years, and it just builds up and builds up until our body goes, that's it, it's over. You know, you have to stop now, and unfortunately there you are, you're ill, so it's over. Why do we, like, we have to really realize this, because it is life-changing. It's life-changing.
You know what you're talking about, this is so profound for me, because as I'm sitting here, but I'm thinking of when you're talking about the childlike thing, and I'm sitting here going like, what you're talking about, I'm thinking of, okay, Shrek, the movie Shrek, where he talks about ogres are like onions, right? It's that peeling back the layers of all this. And then you think, then my number one song, I was telling this to my mom, we were in the car the other day, and it had to do with leadership. And it had to do with which now you and I have been taught everything's neutral, right? The game, everything's neutral. That way you can stand, look out and say, okay, how do we play this game? How do we want to win, right? Win for everybody, but win for ourselves too. I love the song from Frozen, Let It Go, right? How profound that is.
Yes.
That's what meditation is, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And amazing things do happen with meditation. I mean, it's just extraordinary. I love it. And I feel we are transitioning. I think people are realizing this. We're ready to hear it maybe for the first time ever, like really. And it's time, we are coming towards this, what I talk about it in my workshop, but we are becoming slowly into one world. We're energetically connected. We're all realizing it now. And whether we realize it or not, COVID, we're all, we're so connected. So if someone's like really in pain and struggling, it's affecting us. These incredible people who do is it the bagwas, like the prayers, and they heal. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Yes.
And it's true. And this is not new. It's been going on, but we're ready to hear this now, there is some incredible work out there. I think I love it. I love it all. And I'm kind of diving into it. And in the membership, I have people come in and do these incredible talks, and it's really fascinating. I love it all.
Well, you were talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza and how, you're talking about the healing and the no more pain meds. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's story, how he was talking about how he got hurt in a major, I guess with a car wreck on his bike he was doing a bike-a-thon or something. I don't know what it was exactly, but he was told to come forward by that policeman, and then how he healed himself. I mean, he had surgery, but he healed himself through all that, and how he thought about it in his mind. Let me ask you this question. You were talking too about this, that, what do you think about are the 3 most important things that people need to get unstuck, right? That they need to be able to, the most factors they need to look deep into about if they're feeling stuck, what can they do?
So in terms of getting unstuck, you mean?
Yes. What would you recommend, those 3 factors?
Yeah. So it's funny because I coached 2 clients today. It was the same, exactly the same. It's just the same thing. It's always interesting to see how, where people are at, but
yes,
it is this about, COVID has been very interesting, hasn't it? Because it's made we've had to stop, we've had to go indoors. For some, it's been pretty transformational because they've, worked through things, created businesses, had an amazing time. And then other people have really struggled with it. And interestingly, I think the world needed to stop. And I think one of the reasons being that we need to do, which is what I did, is look inside. And because there are so many, from the moment we wake up in the morning, especially as women, with a mum, we could be the caregiver, there's tons of things that we get to do every day. And from the moment we wake up in the morning, it's go, 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 whether we realize it or not. And this is what I love about Joe Dispenza, what he says as well, which is so true, is that whilst ever we're just in our day-to-day going about what we're actually doing, it's like a machine. We're just like in our head, and what every single thing it's all past related. It's what we've done in the past because that's our routine. So what I invite people to do first of all is to really, before their day begins, like if they're busy, then honestly make a commitment to invest in yourself. Get up 20 minutes, half an hour earlier. Go and sit in a quiet space, get your headphones on, I highly recommend like the proper, so block out the noise. Ideally do it with a little music meditation, but just even, it's a process, but just take 5 minutes or 20 minutes to just, especially first thing in the morning, because your brain hasn't really gone, there's all the different wavelengths. So it hasn't really gone into, the monkey mind, the busy, chatty mind yet. So in the morning, first thing, everywhere's quiet before anybody's getting up. So you invest in that time for yourself and you get your headphones on ideally a mask as well on your eyes, so you're shutting out, so you're just going, and what you're doing is you're going within, so you're cutting out those the senses of your sight and hearing, and you're just going within, and you get to be with yourself for 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And it's a process. It is pretty amazing, though. I would say after maybe not even 21 days, there are moments when the mind stops thinking and it's like a revelation. And it just gets easier and easier and easier the more you do it. I mean, right?
Yeah, it's like practice. It's just practice. Yeah.
And I love it now. Like I love it so much. And that going inside, what it does is, and gets us out of this monkey mind, is it actually opens us up. Like it just happens. New thoughts start to come in, new ideas, and just new information, which is here to guide us. It's like intuition. It's there to guide us. And whilst ever we're busy, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to even be heard. How can we know what we want when we're just constantly busy? So that is number one, yes, without a doubt, because it just puts us back in touch with ourselves, like that reconnect with who we are, like truly who we are, like our higher nature, our intuition. So that's number one for sure. And then number two, the next thing that I which is kind of a follow-on from that, to be honest, because I don't think not everyone does a lot of journaling. But there is a process. So when we have a new thought, a new idea, what happens, what I felt, and I wasn't taught this actually, but I know Dispenza taught us about it, and it's just so true, that when the new thoughts come in, it's like, okay, and they literally are new ideas that I've never had before. This is where I came to coaching. I thought, I never even thought of that. Like, where did that come up? And what happens is the thought, then I started journaling. So the great thing about journaling is there's like a full process. So everything starts with a thought, like an invention. Everything starts with someone coming up with the idea. And then eventually it becomes a product or whatever it results in. And the great thing about journaling is the thought comes in, and then we write it down. So we're putting it on paper, and there's something about physically writing something down that actually is it manifests. It's like people say they write a book as well, like they channeled a book, or it's true. It's like it comes. And I was up at 3 a.m. I was like writing like a crazy person, like, and I wrote at the very beginning of COVID. I wrote a whole coaching program one night. Early hours of one morning, the outline just came, and I wrote all this stuff, and it was extraordinary. And that kind of stuff comes when we open up to receiving new information. Yeah. So that's a far better choice, way of being, of manifesting what we feel is coming to us, is directing us, than just staying busy all the time, doing what we always did, which is ultimately, to be honest, living in the past. We're not being present. And it's that just a very clear distinction for me. I mean, it's very, very clear. So I'd say, yes, so I'd say the meditation, even sitting, and there's a whole process to that, but sitting, meditation, journaling. And the other thing, there's loads of things actually, but maybe something that would be supportive for women is, well, I feel so strongly, whether it's anybody, about learning your archetypes. There's lots of things I could add on as well, but really understanding, becoming aware of how powerful our ways of being. We're being governed all the time. It's almost like we're a puppet. So what do? We get the choice to be present and be in control, for want of a better word, to be in a place of consciousness, or we are just bouncing around, going from one event to the next, and just like totally unaware of the fact, the truth, that we are actually creating everything in our lives. It's up to us to get conscious, be present, and And that's where true health is. That's true health.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that because I've done it more. And if people have just started meditating, I didn't see a lot. I didn't see anything. I saw like nothingness for a while. And you're going, okay, when's it going to work? When's it going to work? And I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm expecting stuff. And then all of a sudden, like you said, the more you do it, the more that I could see it, the visions, even in energies. I've worked a lot with some different energies and honing that in and into your own energy. But I find that so magnificent. I was going to ask you too, I'm going to have you talk about your membership stuff here in just a minute, but I have a couple more questions for you. Do you work with young adults, and do you feel that there's value in doing so? And are they mature enough to even understand the spiritual perspective of life?
I love this concept, like this question. So our son is nearly 17.
Yes.
We live in Paris, France. So Joe was actually born in London, but we came here as soon as he was born, pretty much, to settle. We knew we were coming, and we have Ava as well. So we wanted our kids to be bilingual, give them that incredible opportunity, which they are. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so interesting because Joe is still very, very English and Ava's totally French, just like same upbringing. It's very interesting, but that's their character, right? So it's like, again, archetypes. I love it. And what's interesting about Joe, so living here, is what I see is, for example, the culture difference. So I'm British, and yet I love England. I love my family and going back, but I always knew I was leaving. I was always leaving. I was always heading south. I wanted to live in Europe, and it's an island. England is an island. That's the way they think and feel and behave. And I wanted to be part of Europe, where there's culture and, language. And so the culture interest here is very interesting, because the kids, so there's a lot of international families here. Children grow up, but there is this slight identity issue that the kids have because of the language difference, and literally, I mean, we have a lot of Americans here. Joe has we have a lot of American friends, Canadian, all over, from all walks of life. And what is interesting and what I'm seeing so much is the parents. So you might have, usually there's one parent that's French, or there's some connection with French grandparents or something, and there is the culture. The French culture is very specific in terms of education and the way French people have been, it's just a very interesting culture. And I would say academic and disciplined. And our way of doing things is that I'm certainly a lot more laid back. And what we're seeing with other parents and other children with this mixture of culture is it's really, really difficult. And the children are not really, so some parents, really the French ones, are like pushing the children to do certain careers, to follow their path. Very, very interesting. And it's across all walks of life, I believe, that a lot of parents have that tendency to really steer their children to be the person that they never were, to do the work that they never got to do. It's like, we want everything for our kids. Yeah, we want them to do. And what I see is here specifically is that there's a lot of kids that are really struggling with that, because they're pleasing their parents and yet they're losing themselves a little bit. And not only that, like for example, our 17-year-old son, Joseph, he's got OCD, and with COVID that's having happened, energetically, for a lot of teenagers and kids now, we are transitioning. I mean, this whole, it's a bigger subject that I talk about, but energetically, we're not even aware psychically of how much change is going on. I mean, we're not even male female anymore. Like there's all kinds of sexual identity coming in. So it's like our kids are like, I mean, we had it as well in our generation, but the kids today are really feeling it. The identity thing is like, I think they're finding it really tough. And what I would love, I had a great conversation Dr. Brad Reedy, and like he does these, what they call like not walkabout, but he does these therapy camps, and he takes the kids off. They do it in groups, and it's his work. It's amazing the work he's doing. And I spoke to him a couple of summers ago, and we were saying, wouldn't it be great if we could do one here in France? And the truth is, I don't think the parents here are ready for that, because it's all about, the medicine, the medical field here is huge. They're a long way from this concept of not therapy, but a long way from kind of educating the parents as well as the kids. It goes both ways. It's not just the kids that have got a problem. It's a family situation. It's like we as parents have to take responsibility for our part and how we've put a little bit of pressure perhaps on the kids, unknowingly or knowingly. And it's a way of, it's just a way of communicating. I feel that he does that's just awesome. And I would love to do more with families and kids, especially teenage kids and young adults, to empower them and for parents to empower their kids to be who they are. Why would you want to? And again, this is why the archetype work and soul contracts is so, so powerful, because the children get to, like, instead of pushing to be somebody that they're not, they get to just be themselves. And there's nothing more magical when we can align to that. And that's what we should be, in raising thriving kids, rather than having them feel the pressure of a parent that wanted them to do this or they never got to do that. And I'm seeing it so much because I'm around teenagers, and ideally I'd love to do a lot more of that, for sure. Yeah,
that's awesome. So now I do want you to talk about your membership. So I want you to tell us about your membership and what is offered within it.
Oh, thank you. So yes. So I have a membership for women. It's called the Realizing You membership. And we meet every month. I do a coaching training with the ladies every month, and it's always the same time every month. And we record everything, and it all goes into the membership space. And what we do is we look at, so there are many aspects to what we've done over the months past, and it's all to do with healing and really like building ourselves from the bottom up. So we've done a lot in terms of meditation, understanding the energy centers in the body, so the chakras, and it's everything to do with holistic health. We've had nutritionists, so we do that together. And then every month also we have a specialist come in, a holistic health specialist. So they could be nutritionists. We have feng shui experts. It's really a wonderful soup mix, really, of everything you can imagine. And it's powerful. It's really empowering. And what it's doing is it's just helping women to go in, and they can look around the membership. Everything gets recorded. There's tons of resources. And over this year, there's a whole trajectory this year, which is all to do with manifesting, so intentionally setting. We've all got intentions to set before the end of the year, and so that we, it's like coaching, really. And I have one-to-one coaching with the ladies 4 times a year as well, each of them. So it's really it's like a third four. It's like, like we get to meet once a month, we get to have a real conversation, and then they get a little bit of homework, which we call the Realizing You homework. Realizing studies, I beg your pardon, we call it realizing studies rather than homework, because it's something that we get to do. It's not something we have to do, but it's transformational. So everything we do, it's like we're transforming all the time. There's fun stuff in there that we've done, just really, really fantastic. And I love it. I love it so much, because it's just that opportunity to sit down, to go within, to take on these new practices, to embrace all these amazing gifts that all these fantastic people are giving to us. And it's amazing. Yeah, it's truly amazing. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Awesome. Well, I had the chance to, you allowed me to be able to share my story within your group. And I thought that was so fantastic. And I thank you for that, because I realized that what you're doing, how impactful this truly is. Like if I had done, I knew that should have meditated, right? It was that time and just, when we're in our own, the mess becomes the message eventually. If we do the inner work where we peel back those onion layers, I guess. But I love that. And I love how you put this whole program together. Now tell us a little bit too, like how much does that cost for the membership? And then I know that you've got a workshop that's coming up too. I'd love for you to kind of tell us a little bit about the workshop.
Sure, yes. So the membership it's a monthly paid membership. It's €19 a month, which I believe is about 22 or 23 US dollars. It's a monthly membership. Yeah. So it is super valued packed, is what I would say, to the point that I do worry sometimes that people have got too much overwhelming information. But I have like an onboarding coaching, so everyone gets on the right path anyway. But yeah, it's super value packed. So that's the membership. And then the workshop. So this will be the third. I've got one coming up on it's 3 days, 30th of March, 31st and 1st of April. And I chose those dates specifically because it's a 3-day workshop. And then as of the 1st of April, everyone will have access to the membership for a whole month as well. So they get to go in, explore, have a look around and, take from it what they want, and also join us on our live call that month. And with the guest as well, our expert. But the workshop, what I did was I chose like one specific area of the work that we've done in the past, because what happens is that I love it when we come into our meeting together once a month with the ladies. We dive straight in. We're straight in there, like that. We have our check-in, like, where are you at with this? Have you been doing that? So it's like, and conversations that we'll have, for example, perhaps about the archetypes or about, the third chakra or whatever it is, it's because we've already laid down the groundwork. So the workshop is a healing workshop. It is really laying down the fundamental grounding, work that we did over the past 8 months. It really is just getting that into place, that root kind of core part of what we've learned and what's really important to know, that kind of gets us into the present moment and really offers us the opportunity to kind of focus forward with like, wow, hope and vision and excitement about what lies ahead, So there's a lot, and also we do talk about the survival archetypes, soul contracts, our sacred contracts, and how we can use those in our everyday life to really just like live intentionally empowered, with awareness, with choice in every moment, every day. And just really start consciously, working on our health and wellness, like really holistically. So it's a real kind of like it's a taster. The workshop is a taster.
I love it. I love it. And so now you also talk too that you do one-on-one coaching. So I want to see, this is my question for you. What do you see as being the most common issues that your clients face? And what are the majority of reasons that they like the coach one-on-one with you?
Great question. So yes, so with the ladies that I've worked with, so there's very often a life transition. I spoke with one lady I coached today. She is so stuck right now. She's, and I hear it a lot. Their kids have grown up, or they've just given up their career, or they're trying to find their calling. They don't know what's next, and actually they're feeling a bit depressed. And because they're out of alignment, it's like they're between transitions, and I get that a lot. So it is, again, it comes back to archetypes, sacred. It just like pit to being, ways of being, get into the meditation, go within, start journaling. It's like that, taking us right back to the bone. So that is one of the biggest ones, I would say, for sure, is this transition. And often, even if there's a specific issue, whether it's a relationship issue or they're not they don't know how to communicate. Underlying all of that is, self-worth. It all comes down to the 4 archetypes and the fact that we haven't laid down, we haven't transitioned through them, we haven't looked at the shadow side of those archetypes, the survival ways of being. There's work to be done. There is work to be done to live an intentionally empowered life. And I haven't got it down. I'm not, I'm still learning every day. And but with that awareness, we have choice. And so many people feel they don't have choice, and they see outside elements and relationships as the problem. Yes. But the answer is how we interpret it. Like, really.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And me too, this past year with the COVID going on and everything, with all the transitions that happened in my family and myself, I had to do that same thing. It was I rebranded myself because I was like, okay, don't get me wrong. I love my patients doing anesthesia. I love that. But I needed to find something that was more of a connection form with them, because think about what I do. I put people to near death and back again, or put them to sleep, more importantly, wake them back up, right? But I give them medication that causes them to forget. So they're not going to remember me, So that's what I love about transitioning into the holistic health, is because I really wanted to do the root cause. Yes. And I love how you take them through that. And it was through this leadership program that we've been through, and some other ones that I took, of really figuring out what my life vision was and applying my business into that. That's kind of what you've done too as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think this is a very, very important thing, what you've just said, because so many people don't, when we ask someone, what do you want out of your life? Yes. They've got no idea. They have they've never actually really thought, they've never realized that they have choice. Like, oh my gosh, you mean really? How on earth is that going to happen? Because we feel this is our due, this is it. We are our job. This is our circumstance, and there's no way out. And it's just, it's so empowering to realize that we do have choice. And it's just phenomenal. It's what it's all about. And that's what, we're here to do. Really, I feel it's so profound, the work that we're doing, and it is transformational. And that's what I love about the leadership. It is transformational. People are literally changing their lives, and because they are stepping into this way of being that they've taken that step, they've stepped over the line. We talk about the fear. They were stepping over the line to just to feel that confidence and knowing. It's just that knowing that something else is going on, and that's what I love. And that's the work that I do, is that, we do have choice in this life. It is a transition. And if we just stay stuck living the way we always lived yesterday, then with that comes all the stuff that we laid down with that. We today is a new day, really.
Absolutely. Okay. So now this is a whole nother thing, because I know that you've worked on a new website, which I know is still under construction. And this is called Complete Retreat Experiences. Tell us about that and your role and how that came about.
So yes, so my Authentic Empowerment Life Coaching website is under construction. So so that's really just about the coaching, and the membership has its own website, etc. However, Complete Retreats came about because I had the privilege of interviewing some amazing holistic health practitioners in an interview series, and I loved the interviewing part, but I loved the conversations. I just totally connected with everybody, and there were 4 or 5 of us that said, right, okay, let's get together, let's collaborate. So I created Complete Retreats, and we've had 2 events in central Paris, and they are opportunities. Really, we didn't manage to do anything last year because of COVID, but they are basically, it's a 3 or 4 day event. So retreats can be anywhere. At the moment, it's in Europe, but we can do them anywhere ultimately. But we have, I host and do the coaching. We have a fitness coach, we have yoga tutors, we have yeah, so it's really like a holistic health. We have a nutritionist who does all the food and educates people, and it really is, people come in and they go through this incredible like training over 3-4 days where they do daily fitness, everything's clean, so they're having a detox, they're having a total mindset it's amazing, like really, really amazing. And what is brilliant, what we're going to be promoting for next year, is to do it for groups, for small businesses, you know, to cater to their team, for the culture of their company, you know, for their employees, etc. So we're really going to open up to doing that for more corporate and just adapting it to what they need ultimately, because this whole health and wellness culture coaching within businesses is powerful. Can you imagine, like, for a business owner to have a really happy whole team who are so invested in themselves, and it's just a win-win. It's a win-win.
Yes.
So yeah, so we're definitely going to be promoting that more.
Well, I hate to say it, working for a hospital, you could be dying on your deathbed and they still want a warm body there. I'm being brutally honest. I'm really being brutally honest. The healthcare field it's about work, work, work. Now I'm going to tell you, there's amazing, amazing people that work in the healthcare field. I'm not saying that it's like that all the time, but I remember going back to where my child was, I can't remember, she's before 5, Allie, and her coming up to me, and I had to go to work. I was on call that day and I could not take off. Like I could not, you know, it was not, and she was sick. And she says, you know, Mommy, you take care of sick people. Why can't you take care of me? And I was like, I was heartbroken. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it just totally like tore me apart, because, you know, you want to be there for your kids. You want to be able to do that and what you do. But then you also have this responsibility to be able to take care of it. And so, you know, it's just, I love that. I love that thought that what you just said, how businesses need to move forward. You know, if you can keep your people happy and healthy and provide certain things that they're not going to get from the outside, their immunity is huge. That is a big deal. And I love this. And so I do want to ask you, what is the future for your work? What is the future vision that you have for your work?
Wow, I love that, because again, so that question about like, and I realized I was that person who had no vision. I didn't know where I was going. I was just bouncing around. You know. So now, I mean, really, I would say the last couple of years, really, I have a dream that I would love to have this incredible space, like a wellness center overlooking the ocean. I kind of feel like I'd like it to be in Corsica, so just south of, it's part of France. Yeah. And it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful island. It's a bit like Ibiza. It's like this big rock, and then it's just surrounded by beach. It's just beautiful. It's big, and so I have this dream that I'll have this extraordinary place overlooking the sea, because for me the sea, it just puts everything into perspective. It makes me feel all my problems are small, and it just makes me feel really humble, you know. And so to have this amazing view and a retreat space, so people can come, you know, people can come with their yoga groups, whatever they want to do. We have an amazing space, all clean, healthy food, and it will be partly my home. People just come and go. I don't even have to be front and center. I just would love this extraordinary collaboration space, and where we can all come and be with each other and just be, truly be. And that's my idea. That's kind of my long-term vision. I say long-term, I've kind of already this year in the membership, I've sowed my seeds to start intentionally putting serious thought into that before the end of this year. So, you know, step by step. So that's my ideal dream. And in the meantime, for me, I'm all about, and again, when I look back at my life, all the little pieces, when I add it up, it's complete retreats. For me, it's all about collaboration, connection, being with like-minded souls, being able to have real conversations, being accepted for who we are, just for being, feeling, to being, to knowing we are worthy. There's nothing to prove. We're we are totally, just by being present and being with each other and being honest and present, that's all we need to do, just to kind of bring us back to that basic yet profound ways of being. Connection is everything. Collaboration, connection, and that's and joy, like real, like that's health. That's 100% health, really.
I love that. I love it. Well, I want you to really, this has been an honor to hear you speak. Number one, just your love, your passion, you're connected. You're just so genuine and authentic that I love this, number one. But number two, what is the offers that you want to share with people about your membership? Is it about your membership? Is it about your new program that's coming up with the workshop?
Thank you. Yeah, so it's not quite ready yet, but it'll be ready in a couple of days. So maybe if you're going to be doing the interviews Sunday as well, or tomorrow, we can post the link back in. But yes, so the workshop is coming up, and the workshop is like a little taster of what we do in the membership. And it's actually pretty empowering, this workshop, like really. And essentially with the workshop, everyone, like I said, will then have the opportunity to go into the membership for the following month. So they're getting like a double whammy, really, that they just really get an opportunity to just dive in and look at what the option, like, where am I at and what can I do next? And we get to explore all of that together. And then I've given you also the best thing to do at this point, like in terms of taking action, would be to schedule a call with me, a discovery call, and then we can figure out what works specifically for someone, whether it's just the membership, because not everyone wants to be just part of a community. They may want to have what I will say is with the membership is that everyone that comes in has, some time with me anyway, because they get up to speed with where we're all at, so that they don't feel like they're going in there and overwhelmed. So they get to kind of be integrated really gently, which is important. So the discovery call, I would say, is probably the go-to place, or you have my email. Because then we can really discuss where people are at, because it's really important that, I want people to have value, and it's about them. It's about, like coaching, it's about the person that we're serving. So yeah, that will be the first step for sure.
Well, I've got it up here. I don't know if you can see in the chat. I hosted my chat up. I'm not sure if you can see it, but if you guys are on the Zoom presentation, which I posted that yesterday, you guys could have been on here live. It's Ali at authenticplc.com. That's ALI at authenticplc.com. Make sure that you go on there. And then also, you can also go to, it's https:// but go.oncehub.com/discovery_call. Okay. And so I'll make sure that I put that out here for you guys, so that you'll know. As a matter of fact, like right now, this is what I'm doing. I just go ahead and I take a picture of it. So that way it's like, yes, boom, you get it.
All right. I love it. I love it.
I'm telling you, Clubhouse, you have ever seen them pop up?
Yeah, it's true, huh? It's true. And then suddenly you're in a room.
You're like, leave quietly. You're like, I didn't ask for that. What just happened?
I know. It happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer. Like really, I just feel the work you're doing is extraordinary, and all of this collaborating and connecting, and you have the biggest heart, really, and you're just an angel. There you go. There's an archetype. You are an angel. You really are. Seriously.
Well, right back at you. Yes, right back at you. And guys, I'm serious. Like her membership base is so fantastic. I mean, for roughly you said about $22, $23 to do that monthly is not that much. I mean, there are groups that I have been in that will cost $10,000 a year. Sometimes they go up on that. And so to have that, right, to have Ali at your fingertips to help you get through, if you've had a past traumatic experience, if you're going through, some kind of traumatic experience right now, to have her at your fingertips, guys, is amazing. And you can tell, like, she cares about you. She loves you. She's going to love you up. So I thank you so once again, Ali, for being here and just Sending you love in Paris.
Such a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, ma'am. Awesome. All right, guys. So what we're going to do right now, this is we're kicking it off with Allie. Allie had the chance to kick off the Women's Empowerment Weekend. And then tomorrow we're going to be here at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which will be 12 o'clock Central Standard Time and 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And so I want you guys to invite all the kind of ladies, get them on here, let them know what's going on. We're going to be showcasing so many different amazing ladies throughout this weekend with everything they do. This is all about health and wellness. They've got different businesses. It's going to be amazing. So you do not want to miss it. And I just feel so blessed to be able to have these ladies with me, to be able to showcase what they do. I hope you guys get a lot of information out of this. Make sure that you go down in the comments. Make sure too, on top of this, go to www.operationimmunitybootcamp.com. You can opt in, subscribe for that. And what that does for you is you're going to know who's going to be coming up tomorrow. You're going to have their information. You can message me. I'll get you their information if you don't get it. That's what this is all about. It's about collaboration. It's about providing you the best knowledge forward and empowering you in your life so you can reach unobtainable goals, right? Or obtainable goals, right? We don't even say unattainable, but the things that you vision in your life.
Wow.
Yay. Well, bye, guys.
Bye.